earlier question, what reaction, response from the players do you hope and expect to see starting tomorrow?
Well, it's already happened. There's been a bunch of guys in today. It's a very proud group. That's a little injured right now, spiritually, which is a good thing. I think I think the general attitude is physically okay and mentally a little struggling, but we'll be good tomorrow. Type you know feedback and that came from offense, defense, special team, young, old, and that's a good that's an accurate and a good mindset right now for not the situation that anyone wants to be in.
Mark, I don't think you ever thought that you'd be here this time of year, but is it just a disparity in talent that's going on right now, or is it the injuries, or is it a combination? I mean, how do you go about deciphering what's going on?
Yeah, again, every week is a little bit different. When you look at certainly the last 3 weeks, whether it's by position or individually, or again, first and foremost as coaches, how we evaluate what we are doing and or not doing, and evaluating that constantly. We're constantly in that mode, win or lose. But yeah, certainly nobody draws this up. But by the same token, totally believe in this group of guys. As I've said many times, I totally believe in this coaching staff to make it right.
Ryan.
Mark, it might seem like bad timing, but in some ways, could it be good timing to have a rival coming in that's flying high and ranked number 5? I'm sure your team will have, spirited practices and would like to rise up, obviously. And
Maybe, yeah, maybe if that's their coal in the fire type of thing, that would be great. But the biggest thing again is just us controlling us and addressing some of these issues that we're talking about and moving forward.
Those issues, are they stuff that's continually being the same thing over and over each week, or are they new things that pop up? And if that's the case, how much does it deal with just, you don't want to blame inexperience, that their guys are just so young, but they just haven't seen this, maybe the twists and the stunts that Washington State does so much, until they have that experience that they can
Right.
really truly know how to handle it.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. As a coach, it's always what can we do differently? How can we help these guys? And so you're always looking back through that lens. Certainly, we saw some stuff maybe physically that they hadn't seen before. That's we kind of had prepared for everything they did, but not with those bodies doing it, and they did a great job up front. And we let a few things get away from us, but that's where again we have to help them out. And then yeah, I mean every week, like we said, is a little bit different. The run game issues presented by Washington State were completely different than maybe the run game issues from Virginia or UC Davis, but they're similar. Yeah.
Going back on the other. Go ahead.
What do you make of Washington's start to this season, and what do you see from what Chris Peterson has done so far with us?
Yeah, they're playing very, very well. I think had a great schedule to develop a lot of chemistry and a lot of momentum. And they're playing very well in every phase. Won a very close game in Tucson in overtime, and playing very well. Yep, very well.
Ryan.
Mark, is that gap between your number 1 and 2 quarterbacks still there in practice, or is Justin starting to close that as he gets more experienced game planning and that sort of thing?
That's you don't really sit down every day during the course of a season and necessarily evaluate that gap, specifically to your question. But he's been practicing very well. I thought he reacted well in the game to he had some guys in his face and some stuff going on. Got the ball out of his hands, threw it away. So showed some signs, some good signs of what he's done in practice.
I don't know if you were maybe expecting to use Jacob Breland quite a bit this season, but he seems to have gotten on the field early and often.
Mm-hmm.
He had that big catch last night. how's his progress been? And he's in another spot where next year there's 3 guys gone ahead of him.
Right. Yeah, I think he has a very bright future. I think his biggest thing, or his biggest question mark, was always how physical he would be. But he did a great job early in the season. He was kind of in and out, being available. As unfortunately that position has been struck by lightning or whatever. But when he's been in there, he's been very good. He's been physical. He's always been great with his hands. You saw how he could run in the open field, and so I think he has a very bright future.
Andrew, Chantel, do you have a question?
Go ahead, Chantel.
Coach, sorry, I think we missed the first few minutes, so if you've been asked this already, I apologize. When did you first see the Stanford-Washington score, and what was your reaction to that?
When did I first see it? Was that the question? Well, it was a Friday night game, so we saw kind of the parts of that around our meetings and Friday night, and I think again Washington apparently, and I didn't see the I don't know how much. I don't think I saw any of the first half until today on tape, and got up and hot and played aggressively in every phase, and I don't know exactly what happened with the quarterback situation with Stanford, but Burns was in and out, and they got hot and got rolling.
Andrew?
Yeah, Mark, Charles was really dynamic last night on kickoff returns. Is there a thought that you might move him back to punt and bump Darren out of there, or do you like each guy where they're at right now?
I think we like where they're at right now. Charles is maybe a little. Charles, one of those guys, again, to a fault, we try to overuse, and he'll do it. I think there at the second, third game, we weren't catching the punts and letting them hit the ground. There's a adage that's about 17 yards of field position every time the ball hits the ground. That's an average, and we never really gave up 17, but we gave up a bunch. And I don't know exactly why. Some of the other things he was doing special teams wise, we've pared back on, and hopefully that translates to more 100-yard kickoff returns and great effort on offense.
With Johnny Reagan, is that injury going to be a season ender? Is that something you could comment on?
That was one of the things I think was asked earlier, and it's inconclusive right now.
Questions here, Warren?
Mark, as losing continues, I'm sure it's a constant struggle to keep the guys motivated and keep them up. As a coaching staff, how do you go about doing that, every day and every week, and just getting the guys to play for you and know that there's still a lot of football yet to play?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, you like I said earlier, you're honest, and you show them exactly what happened that was good, what happened that wasn't good, what we should have done differently, could have done differently as a coaching staff, and you move on. But we are built around people and culture and character, and it's in times like these when you need it the most, and not when the seas are calm and everything's great. It's times like these, and just again how hard they played. How you watch our kickoff cover team, our receivers blocking downfield. I think those again are two things that we can hang our hat on right now, that pays dividends in every phase of your program, or shows it.
Any more questions, either here or on the phone?
I've got one.
Okay, go ahead.
Mark, I was curious about Washington's defensive line. They blitz the least of anyone in Pac-12, but they also lead the conference in sacks. What is it about those guys up front that make them so effective getting to quarterbacks?
Yeah, they do a great job. We were talking about that earlier. That one of the biggest things is just first down success of when you're starting to game plan somebody, and there's a ton of second and longs, and so a lot of that's tackles for losses, sacks, whatever it may be, and they do a great job as a unit from a coverage standpoint and how they attack you without blitzing, and they'll press you a fair amount, but the inside guys are dynamic, physical guys, and then the edge guys are speed and physical guys, and so very good. A lot of movement. They'll get into, as you saw against Stanford, a lot of three-man rush that is still very effective in terms of getting to the quarterback.
Warren has another question.
Mark, kind of along that same line, freshman offensive line under attack last night. Looking back at the tape, how did they do under those very difficult circumstances? And there's a lot to look forward to, I imagine, with that group.
Definitely, and there's a ton. And it was kind of the young guys against the old guys, a very, very veteran defense and offense at Washington State, and so some frustrating stuff that at the beginning I think put a couple guys just on their heels, and when you start to play with any sort of hesitancy, that you're in trouble. And so we had a few of those things, and that shows up in the form of footwork and assignments and communication. And that's a place on the offensive line you can't live in a phone booth. You have to survive together and be able to communicate great. And we had some hiccups there that we'll get straight.
Any more questions from any source? Okay. Thank you.